everybody. So if you've got your popcorn ready, this is the episode for that. That's for sure. Thank everybody for being here this evening. Let's see who all we got. All of our regulars, not all of them, but a lot of our regulars. Chicago Bob was here early tonight. And Chicago, not only did I get your video, but I'm going to show it to everybody here in a few minutes. Hello, Terry from New Zealand. I see a few people here from New Zealand. And Terry says, there's no cicadas down there. It's too cold. I looked because I seen y'all talking about the temperature and how cold it was. And I'm showing in Auckland, it's around 59 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 15 Celsius, if I'm right. That ain't cold. That's good sleeping weather. That's 59, 60 degrees, good sleeping weather, and then Fahrenheit, and then about 70 degrees Fahrenheit in the day and low humidity. That's perfect weather. So I put in the comments, for those who were here early, you've probably seen it. We're going to be talking about Gravini tonight. And if you haven't seen Gravini, there's the link for it there. It is in the comments, gravini.cz. And depending on if you want the English language, gravini.cz/en. And then I've also got I don't have them up here yet. The popcorn boxes, I've got two versions. Both of them are already online. I've got the basic version, and that's free for anybody that downloads it between now and midnight. It's free. And then I've got a premium version, which I really went to town with, but it sprung from the basic the basic version. So if you have some LightBurn capabilities, you can get that free one tonight and do your own modifications. And but we're going to look at Gravini and how to do this. And just in case you just want to tackle it yourself, or I showed this design to a few of my neighbors today just to get some feedback and is it something they would use, or just general feedback and from a pretty broad spectrum of different walks of life. And the majority of folks really liked it, while some of them said they would never use it for popcorn. I said, you know what though? If it was a little bit different shaped, it'd be perfect for ramen noodles. And I don't eat ramen noodles, but I've seen the packets. And I imagine if you've got 8 or 9 packets of that in your cabinet, they're just kind of falling all over the place. So to be able to stack your ramen noodles in a little box like that, that'd be cool. Another person suggested they got a waiting area, and this is not the time of year for it for us, but during the winter months, they put out hot cocoa packs. And they said, a little hot cocoa pack dispenser, that'd be really cool. So there's a couple of different things you can do with this idea, this concept. And with what you're going to learn tonight in Gravini, and there are some, I like Gravini better than I do boxes.py when it comes to LightBurn friendliness, but there are some small headaches and with different designs, and specifically with this design we're going to look at tonight. And I'm going to show you what to look for, how to fix those, overcome those roadblocks and stumbling blocks. Let's see here. Dale's in the house. So you got you already ordered the 30 watt. You didn't wait for the XW. I hear you. Yep. I was lucky. I got my pre-order in. This one is not gifted to me, I'm not, Rolly is sponsoring the giveaway for the live stream that's coming up in less than a month, June 15th. So they are going to give away a brand new laser to one of you guys. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world. We're going to send this. It's international. Whoever's watching, wherever you're watching, the one lucky winner will get a brand new Rolly. And since he's doing that, I did not even begin to have it within me to ask him if he would send me the XW. So I said, just let me know as soon as it is available for pre-orders, and I'll get my order in. And I did. And I got my pre-order in the first batch. It shows that it potentially ships first of the month. I don't know how long the freight will take, but it's not impossible. I may have it here for the 2-year anniversary, which would be cool. Let's see here. Dave's in the house. Hello, Dave. Dave from Tampa. We got Goose Creek, South Carolina, just down the road a little ways. Ozarks. Yeah, that's Ozark, Alabama. Okay. And of course, the man who never sleeps, Chris, is in the building. Thank you for being here. And I'm just kind of, I don't normally do this, but I have seen that. Wait a minute. Let people to jump on, that way they don't miss out on, but instead of me just jumping straight into the design. There's another New Zealander, Francis. Hello, Francis. I was looking to see if Valerie was going to make it, because this idea, this was not my idea. This design was a suggestion from Valerie, I think it's Fanning. She suggested this in Saturday's live stream, or not in the live stream. She sent me an email Saturday and said that, what she'd like to have is a box that she could put beside her microwave that would hold the microwave popcorn. That was Saturday evening. Thought about it Sunday, designed it in my head and how I would like to see it happen on Monday. Started putting wood together on Tuesday and finalized my premium one 30 minutes before going live. And for my gold patrons, that's true, because as soon as I got it online, I sent it right out to my patrons on Patreon and let them know, hey, brand new designs, here you go. So that was just like 30 minutes before going live. I just got this thing finished up, but not bad from an idea and concept. And then I went through a bunch of metamorphoses, and I'm going to show you some of those to get to the final results. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't. And y'all have to tell me what's cold to you, Terry. Am I off? Is it not around 15 Celsius? Is it colder than that, or is that really cold to you guys? Yeah, Dale, this one was not mine. This was Victoria. So big shout out to Victoria. In fact, as soon as I got it ready, I thanked her and sent her the designs. Let her know that they were done and ready. Wow. Tennessee, Oregon. Okay. Chris says, no, it's freezing. It's 10 degrees Celsius. 10 degrees Celsius is freezing for you. 10 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. That's 50 degrees. That's not freezing. It's a long way from freezing. 50 degrees. I'm telling you, man, I throw the windows open and turn on the fan in the roof of the RV and draw air in from outside. I might throw an extra blanket on the bed just to snuggle, but that's good sleeping weather, man. It ain't cold. 0 degrees Celsius is when it's getting cold. All right. I don't want to keep up with this. We'll go on and on and on. I was looking, hoping I could see Valerie in here, but I haven't seen Valerie in the stream here yet. Okay. Here's a long one from Nancy. So glad I caught you on a live. I watched your mirror engraving video / videos. I did a lot of those. I followed your instructions to a T, and voila, perfection. And yes, I bought the mirrors you recommended. And I tell you guys, if you ever going to play with mirrors, that's the biggest thing. Wood, you can have variations in wood like crazy, but there's all types of mirrors and mirror processing and different ways they can make mirrors. So find a mirror that you like, do some testing with it. And once you find your settings for that, try to stay with that same mirror all the time. I think even you watch Clack, I think he says the same thing. He's got a mirror that he really likes, and he just stays with that same mirror all the time. That way, you've already found your settings, it's going to work. But you change suppliers, change vendors, or in no guarantees that's going to have the same outcome. All right. So we are caught up. We got 70 of you here that we have doubled our numbers since we started. So let's take a look at these designs. So when I started this, I went shopping first. I went to the Dollar Tree, which is where I start. It's always the Dollar Tree, and got some Act 2 popcorn. And I noticed that their bags were a little bit smaller than the bags you get in the grocery store. Hence, that's why they're at the Dollar Tree. So I went to the grocery store and got some Pop Secret. And they are just slightly bigger. I think it may be an ounce difference in the quantity and the bag. But I wanted to make sure that this design should accommodate at least up to the largest packet that I could buy in the supermarket, and that's what I bought. So with this design as is, it should accommodate any of your microwave popcorns. But once I had the packet, I said, okay, well, I even called, it's either, I don't know who I called, Pop Secret or Act 2. I called them. I said, hey, can we, how well will these keep if we take them out of the plastic bag? Because this extra on the sides here and here, that's in the way of going in the box and all that. And they're like, yeah, nah, don't do that. You need to stay in the plastic until you're ready to use them. So I said, okay. So I took some measurements on this, height, width, all that stuff. Make sure my box is going to accommodate both manufacturers I had. And I'm thinking, okay, to make sure that this is easily accessible, easy to pull out and all that, I need to add some buffer, right? Well, I added buffer in both directions, both for the width or the length, the width and the depth. Now, you didn't need to do that. I didn't figure that out until I made the first one. And I started with a little bit of artwork on the first one, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But the one thing I really wish, and I understand they explain why they don't have it and they won't have it, I really wish there was the spell check on LightBurn, because it's not sweet and crunchy, it's sweet and crunchy. But fortunately, I found that, fixed it, and so what's on the premium is addressed and more than this. But with this being this wide, I needed the extra width for the popcorn bag slide in and out, but you don't need the extra depth, because what that does is allow the bag to slide to the back and makes it harder to access. So I learned that. So I said, okay, this won't work. And then so I said, we got to go to design number 2. And instead of waiting on all the artwork, I wanted to get the functionality dialed in. And I actually went through about 2 or 3 different versions of this before I actually got it spot on, my veneers coming off. But this is the basic box. And whenever you download on hobowithwood.com, you go to the popcorn storage box, the basic design, this is what you're going to get. It's got a hinged lid, and we're going to go into Gravini here in a minute and look at this, because this is almost a perfect download from Gravini with very little modifications. There are a few, but not many. But it's got the hinged lid on it, so you can fill your popcorn bags up. And then I had to make this. You couldn't add this hole in the Gravini. I had to do that in LightBurn. And you can grab that and pull it out, and you're going down the road. But it's a little bit tough to grab a hold of. It's not terrible, but with the legs that I've got here and the way this hole is, and this is a solid bottom, it's it's not as easy to grab as the premium. That's because that's one of the things I modified. And if you guys have not made boxes yet from either, because I think LightBurn even has this hinged lid on, not LightBurn, Boxes PY, I think, has this hinged lid on a few other boxes, but these can be fragile. They're not the greatest thing, and I'm not a big fan of them. So that's the other thing I got rid of in the premium version. I got rid of this hinged lid. I said, I don't need that on there, and it's just something else to break. So I modified this whole entire opening here and actually put a box top on it, a removable lid instead of a hinge lid. The sides are done in a lattice so you can see if you've got any bags of popcorn in your box sitting there beside your microwave. And so that was, this is the basic version, I should say. Then the way I modified it, I kept the lattice in the sides. There's the back. You'd put your brand on here if you're going to make these to sell them. And in the front, and I'll slide out of the way here, you can see here, this is a solid piece that goes all the way across the front. Here, I modified it and even modified the bottom. So now you've got something to grab. You can grab your bag a whole lot easier. Still got the same cutout here, but it's notched across the bottom and the front as well. So that was a big improvement. And then getting rid of the hinge lid, a lid that you, what they call that, a pot lid or a pot top or something like that. And the premium version that you get online from hobowithwood.com also has all of this artwork. I drew this in LightBurn, and I'm going to show you how I created this font in LightBurn. That's a cool trick. A few of you have were showing some things in Hobo with Wood Facebook group, and I said, you know what? There's a pretty cool trick that you can do this with about any font, and I'm going to show you that here too. But all this artwork is in the design, the handle, everything. I did all that, and it's in the premium version. And we'll set these up here, and we'll go jump into Gravini. Actually, we'll look real quick and make sure there's nothing I need to worry about. Never mind. I was going to suggest the bottom cut. Yeah, like I say, that was one of the first things that I did to make it make an improvement. But that's something you can't do in Gravini. You have to do it in LightBurn. What, Chris? Coin slot that opens slot with gears? Seriously? It can be done, but yeah, I'm not. I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can. Still going to do my articulated multi-gear design, but yeah, we're not going to do anything quite like that. Well, Ed, thank you for coming. And I've been waiting for you, Ed, because I'm just now getting ready to jump in Gravini and start talking about this. I've just been introducing the designs and talking about the two different ones. This is the basic and this is the premium. They're both already on the website, but we're getting ready to jump over to Gravini because something that I do that I don't know that anybody else doing these videos does. I've got both of these files online on my website right now. This one, the basic, is free. Right now, anytime, if you go to hobowithwood.com, you can download the basic one for free until midnight tonight. So if you're here in the stream, you can go there now, but you don't really want to do that. As soon as the stream's over, go over. You can download that basic one for free, and then you can modify it yourself to make these modifications. Or I've got this one on there, and you can buy that one. But what I do that no one else that I'm aware of does is I'm getting ready to show you how to do this yourself, start to finish. So if you have the time and the capability and the inclination, you don't have to buy anything. You can go to this free website, use the free generator, go into LightBurn, and with the tips and tricks I'm going to show you, you can design your own and not cost you a penny. and I'm not going to eliminate anything. So it's just a matter of, do you want to watch this long enough to see how these are all done? And you can go do it yourself. But I'm not going to say, hey guys, look, this is a free file, and then put it on my laser and hit a button and let you watch it, cut it out, and then assemble it and say, look, you don't learn anything from that. If most of you watching have already got lasers, you want to watch a laser run, you can watch your own laser run. I'm going to show you how to use your laser and how to use some of these programs. All right. Yeah, no, Chris, no, I've got all the challenges I need. Just getting out of the bed in the morning sometimes is all a challenge I can handle. All right. So let's go over to, actually, before I jump into Gravini, I mentioned in last week's live stream about the file that Steve Ventari did in Ventari's workshop with his fireplace. And Chicago Bob mentioned he did a version and turned it into a window, and then had nice videos playing. So when you, it's like you're looking out a window, and he sent me that video, and I'll show you guys that. It's really cool. Let's see, make this full screen. There we go. And then switch. So if you wanted to get you a video of Jamaica or wherever, you could have you a little tropical getaway playing through the window sitting on your desk. That's a pretty cool idea. Ventari's is a fireplace, which all the viewers down in New Zealand would probably appreciate right now from the sound of it. But that's Chicago Bob's design. Now let's jump over to, no, there we go, Gravini. Gravini.cz/en for English. Copy that. I'm going to put it in the comments one more time. Paste. So the link to the Gravini there is in the comments. Some of you have already seen this, but if you haven't, this is the home page. Come over here to products and go to box designer for this particular project. Then what you're going to need to do is put in the dimensions for your box. Now, the one thing that this Gravini doesn't do, that I'm pretty sure boxes.py does do, is you can't, at least I haven't been able to find a way to do it. I haven't seen a way where you can tell it these are the inner dimensions. In fact, it tells you on here whenever you're putting the dimensions in that it is the outer, and it doesn't show a toggle to go for inner or outer. So when you're measuring up your bag of popcorn and you say, okay, well, this is going to be 114 by whatever it was going to be. And I'm not going to give you the exact dimensions in this demonstration. What do I do with my tape? There it is. Because it's already in the basic file. It's already there. But I'm just going to show you the basic setup and the roadblocks when you do this, because you don't need to know the dimensions for doing a popcorn box. They're already there. You go download it for free right now. But I'm going to show you the headaches that you might run into if you're going to do it for your ramen noodles or your Cocoa Puffs or your hot chocolate, or I think somebody said Pop-Tarts. But this is about 7 inches wide and about, I went 4 inches deep. So let's switch this back over here. And for all you domestic, all you Americans and people who don't use the metric system, do you remember what I told you how to convert it from inches to millimeters? It's 25.4. So if it's if I'm going to do 4 inches times 25.4, so 102 millimeters at wide, and in the 7 inches, 7 times 25.4, 180. So my width when you open that up, we're going to say, and in fact, it tells you right here, you have a minimum thickness, and it tells you it's the outer, but you don't have the option to change to the inner. So you put in your width. We're going to go with 180. And the height is how big do you want it to be? Do you want it to be tall enough for 12 bags of popcorn? Do you want it to be tall enough for just 6? You want a small box for, 4 or 5 bags? So you'd put in whatever you think it's going to be. And I'd say they're about a half inch, or so 2 of them would be about 25 millimeters. We'll do right now, say 10 inches, 250, around about 250 millimeters. And the width was around 102. And now you can see in real time, as you put your dimensions in, what those are going to look like. There we go. And now we're starting to get a basic shape of the box. Now with Gravini, what I like about it that boxes.py doesn't show you, or this, I like this this rendering. You can see a physical representation of your box design. But if you click on the side of the box, you'll have all these open up, and these are different things you can do to the side. Now, I used a diamond lattice. And if you didn't want to do that, if you just click, and you got to be careful if you want to change it, you want to zoom in and make sure you're clicking on the side, and then you'll see your check mark of your diamonds. You can change it, say you want brick design. But if you don't click on the actual side of the box, if I happen to get in here and get lucky and click in the middle, so there you see I don't have the bricks checked. It's showing a fill. That's because I clicked through the bricks and actually clicked on the very back of the box. And there it tells you up here, this is the rear that you're messing with. And we're going to leave that on fill. So when if you want to change it, you want to make sure you click and it tells you left side. All right. And I want to go back to my diamonds. You can spin it around, get your right side, put your diamonds on it. And I want to now just click on the whole thing, anywhere, any one of them, the front sides, whatever, and tell it I want to add legs. And now it just added the legs on it to the bottom down here. You can change your leg height. And now the only thing that's missing is the lid. So you come up here to the top and click on the top and say you want a hinged lid. There's the pot lid option here, but I didn't care much for theirs because theirs is done with a slot and tab on either side. And the way I went with it, it was it sits on top and has a small overhang. For me, it was a better finished look. So click on that again, and I'm going to go to the hinged lid. So now that puts that hinge, and if you want to see how it opens, you can hit this play button right here, and it shows you, okay, that opens up like that. But that quick in Gravini, I was able to put in the necessary dimensions to create a box, add what I wanted to the sides, put the hinge lid on it, add the feet, and this is actually ready to. Now I take that back; it's not ready yet, because I don't like using or adding kerf in any of the box generators. You can add kerf in boxes.py and you can add kerf here. But if you want to dial in your kerf, or you're going to use any kerf settings, and you're going to want to do that in LightBurn, then you want to make sure you do this file download with 0 kerf. And I haven't set those kerf settings yet, and I haven't put in the material information yet. And that's what we're going to do here. So over here in this side, you tell it your material thickness is 3 millimeters. The finger width, right now you can see how close they are together. If you don't really like that, tell it you want 15. Say okay. and that's going to give you a larger slot and tab with fewer fingers. I went with 15. You go any larger, I don't like how loose the box can fit, because the more fingers and slots and tabs you got, the tighter the fit it feels for me. So I went with 15 millimeters, and I went with 0 kerf. Now it is ready to download. Before I go into that, before I go to the download and get this brought over into LightBurn, does anybody have any questions? And I see Valerie has now joined us. Valerie, I hope you got my email. Yep, this is, ooh, I love it. Thank you. I sent you an email earlier with the attachment, and gave credit to you early on, to everybody watching, that this was Miss Valerie's suggestion and her idea. I take no credit for the concept, just the design here. All right, I forgot to put a mark on where I was at, so I scroll back up. There's Miss Valerie. Yep, woohoo, love it. Thank you. No, thank you for the suggestion. I really like that live update of box in progress. Yeah, I like this real time. You can see it. And that's the one thing that I struggle with some of my designs. And I mentioned, what was it Steve said he used? Ventari, I think he said he used SketchUp or something. I need to learn how to use some other software, because I really like this ability to see it in. There it is. That would have saved me possibly the first mess up when I made it too wide. And so I don't need that. I could have seen that. All right. Let's see here. Looking for any. Nope. All right. All right. I'm going to put a line of asterisk in here so I know where we're at. And now I'm going to jump back over here and download this and show you the way that I bring it into LightBurn. So we got everything in. We've got all of our measurements right. We've got our thicknesses right. We've got all the finger settings, 0 kerf. And we're happy with this. We want that to be our ready go to LightBurn. You have 3 download options over here. You can download a DXF, the SVG, or the STL. And then here's an option to look, download a photo. I have not done that. I know, and I'm not going to play with it on a live stream. I don't know what use that has, but I download the SVG. And once you click the download SVG, it's all instant. And your computer's working in the background, and you'll see up here that download's complete. So download, I've clicked it, it downloaded, and it pops up, okay, your download's done. And if I click there, it'll open up my download folder. There it is. But it's actually, if I go into my downloads, right there it is. It's actually in a zip folder. And if you click on the zip folder, come on, you get your SVG. Now, I would have thought you could say copy, come over here to LightBurn, and then just say paste, but it's not an option. A lot of times you can cut and paste, but because that was a file and not the actual SVG, it wasn't the actual vector, it was a file. It's not letting me cut and paste that in there. So what I do is I go, let's get rid of all that's in my download folder. We'll leave that right there. I don't need that calculator no more. With this, once I've opened up that zip file, I just take this box base SVG and drag it right over to my desktop. And I've probably got a few of these on my desktop, but I want you to look at this file name, and I don't know how well you can see it. But what it says is box underscore base underscore, and then it has the date and timestamp. So it tells you exactly when this download was brought into your computer. Year 1st, 2024, May 22nd. Let's see, 2024, May 20. Well, I was actually saying it's the 23rd. And then the timestamp. Come on, there we go. But it's on my desktop now. So if I go over here and tell it to import into LightBurn and go to my desktop, I can start typing out the file name, box underscore, and see I've got several of them there. But it's going to be the one at the bottom, which would be the most recent that I just brought in it because it's listed by in chronological order there. So that's the most recent that I downloaded. Come on, computer. Click, open, and there it is. Now, you've got it in the LightBurn, but this is one of the obstacles that you have to overcome with Gravini and the hinged lid. I don't remember, like I said, I'm pretty sure I've done these hinges before in boxes.py and did not have this problem. Have a whole lot of other problems in boxes.py. But here's the first obstacle, other than not being able to differentiate inner and outer measurements. Here's the first thing that did not come into LightBurn when you do these hinged lids. It did not bring in everything for that hinge. And if we go over to LightBurn again, and I zoom in, and it brings it in with labels on it too. If I put this in fill mode, you can see those better. Fill. There we go. And it labels what each individual piece is, which I don't need. We don't need it in this design. You know, these are the sides. Here's the lid, front and back, and the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup everything. Then hold my shift button, select the blue layer, and delete it and get rid of those. Just get them out of my way. All right, but here is our side pieces, which are what's supposed to have the little hole in it for the hinge. Let's rotate them upright. There we go. We've got our side piece of hinges over here, the pivot, but there's no hole in the side pieces. And you might think, oh no, that's going to be tough to do. No, it's not actually. All you got to do is grab your lid right here, grab this corner, bring it up and dock it right there at the corner of the side piece. Grab you one of these, duplicate it, bring it over here. And you want to group those back together temporarily so you can grab just the corner. We're going to grab this bottom corner and put it right there. Now you can ungroup it, select that square, delete it. Grab this, and I'm going to mirror it. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just grab that, bring it right down there. Pop it in place, Control D, duplicate, and I'm going to try and grab the corner there so I don't have to bother grouping it. Just put it right in there, and now I can just grab just the square and delete it. Move that out of the way again, and now I've put my holes in the proper position for those side pieces for the hinges. All right, so now before I go too much further, I'm going to look back over here and see what we've got going on in the comments. All right, there's my mark. Okay, just after my mark. Well, thank you, Miss Nancy. Thank you for all the hands-on training you provide. Well, thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your donation. It is greatly appreciated. Dave says, I use the photo as a simple assembly instruction. I cut the box with tabs and send it as a flat pack and include the picture. Oh, okay. So if you're going to send it to someone else for assembly, yeah, I can see where that would be really beneficial. Yeah, very smart. Is there a difference with the file between drag and drop and import? You know what? I don't know if you can drag and drop it or not, but we'll look and see here. Let's go back over here and I'll bring that Explorer back up. Let's minimize that. And we got the spinning circle of death. Bing, boom. There we go. Downloads. It was right here. Can you just drag that in? No. And I have in the past done just that. And obviously you have too, or else you wouldn't have asked about it. But for some reason, it's not letting you cut and paste or drag. In fact, there's a little circle or circle with a line through it there at the bottom. It's not letting me do that. That is not an option with the Gravini files. So yeah, don't know. And like I said, I've used the drag and drop and just the cut and paste, but it won't work with these Gravini files. Import will allow multiple files to be loaded at the same time. Open will open a new instance in LightBurn, basically. Y'all may have been having a different conversation going on. Dale says, after the windmill video, I started looking at images online. What about a Dutch windmill? And I think it would be easier to have a motor. Well, a Dutch windmill would definitely be easier to put a motor in because they're big. And Russ, one of my gold patrons and a big supporter of the channel, he's sent me some photos. He's done a lot of Dutch windmills and a lot of windmill clocks and different designs. Those are nice. I've not done one. I'm playing with the idea to go with the gentleman windmill. I'm working on a small silo, a grain silo, and a small barn, so you could actually have a little, farm scene there. Lots of 1s and 2s and 4s. Dale's got a big old 4 up there. And for those who are new to the channel and have not participated in any of the live streams, where you see all these folks throwing out these random numbers, this is where they're letting me know that they are paying attention and they actually have learned something from something I've just demonstrated. It keeps the algorithm alive and the chats, the comments, it helps. So if you're a newbie and you're learning something, if you just say, hey, I learned something new, drop a 1 in there. Hey, I learned something else. That's a 2. Next thing you learn, pop a 3 in there. If you extract it first, can you? Well, that was extracted because when I wasn't pulling the zip folder in, I was trying to pull the SVG in, and it wouldn't pull the SVG in. Okay, so now let's jump back over here. Let me put some asterisk so I know where I was in the comments. All right, and now back. Turn Valerie off. Now, so you here is the lid. The lid we didn't have to do anything with. The side we had to fix those holes. For the front, group that, rotate it. Now to put my hole in there and the opening for the bags to slide through, rectangle tool, come down here and just draw out a basic rectangle. Let's put it on the same path. And for right now, I'm actually going to bring this down to the same height as that. And I'm going to click my face and put it in the center. There we go. And now I'm going to take that, and I've got go to my gears. I've got this set to a 3 millimeter increment. So now I'll take that and just arrow it up one time. And that gave me a 3 millimeter space between my slots and my opening. And now I put a hole in here. I come to the center. Where my center? Oh, not wanting to show me the center. Let's go. Oh, let's go back. There am I. Now I go to my circle, and now go to the center. They don't want to give me the center. All right, I think it's about there. Hold my control and hold shift and draw out a perfect circle. And I'm going to make it to where it's just shy of making contact down at the bottom. Now I can hold my select button or shift button and select that and make sure it's centered up. And it is. And now I will just weld those two together. So there is an opening that I can get my thumb into and help grab a bag and pull it out. Now, the one thing that I did do, if you download the basic file from the website, there's an additional piece in that file design that's not in this right now. And I'll draw it out in a second. But all it is a blank piece that will sit down in the very bottom of the box. And it spaces the bag up 3 millimeters. So it's now, the first bag is now level with that opening. So you don't have a curb that you got to jump the bag over to get out. Because that was not included in the Gravini download. And that's one of the things I did to improve the basic design. Let's see here. So back over to LightBurn, and to get that size that I needed there, I just come over here to, this is the bottom. I went to my rectangle tool and drew out a rectangle starting here to here. And then I just stretched it to about there, and then stretched it to about like that. And now, if you center that up, it's just a little bit shy all the way around, and that will fit right in the bottom. And I didn't bother gluing it in. I just dropped it in there and then put the popcorn on top of that, and that spaced it up to get it over that little hump and that cutout. All right. So if you're going to do this yourself, that's one suggestion that I would recommend doing. Make you a little rectangle like that. All right. So that's really it. That's the basic file. It ain't difficult, especially when you use tools like Gravini. Only thing you got to get right is get your math right, get your measurements right. Allow a little extra, but you don't need to go extra deep, because you don't want it sliding back. You want to keep it as tight as you can, but you want to give some room for those bags to slide in and out. Go back up here to my asterisk, which there. Now let's look for off topic, but if you size the windmill, they can be used on railroad layouts. Yeah, someone else had asked me about that, and I don't know what I used. A 1/2 inch equals 1 foot is the scale that I used on that windmill. So, and I think that's Dollhouse scale. I don't know. It's not. I don't think that's 1/34 or 1/25 or whatever. But whenever I seen a video today with Adam Savage, and he said that they refer to that as Dollhouse scale. 1/2 inch equals 1 foot. Let's see here. And we got a comedian in the house. Bob learned 3.14 things today. So far. All right, let's see here. Turn that off. And question Dale, if you added wedges to the sides of the blank bottom plate, it would make sure the popcorn was forward. Yeah, you could. I thought about even doing the wedges in the bottom and then put that blank plate. Yeah. And then have it where it kind of slides. But for me, this is going to be, if I was going to use this, I'm using it in my RV. And RV is, if you're going down the road, it's like taking your house through an earthquake. So it'd be bouncing and shaking. So then when I come back and look, all of them would have vibrated out. That inclination and allowing it would, and the vibrations would allow them just to slide out of there. So I said, I'll just keep them flat. And HO said, or Steve says HO is 1/87th scale. And Ed says houses use 1/4 inch. Now, is that for, and that's something else Adam talked about. He said that he referred to it as dollhouse. He said he not actual, if he was doing the house blueprints. I don't know. But there's Sharon says dollhouse is 1 foot equals 1 inch. That's what I used on the windmill. 1/12. Okay. Ratios was one thing I was never good at. That I never figured out how to do that, but it's probably pretty simple. I just never got around it. Yeah, and Ed says blueprints. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, let's look at a few things that I did on the premium box. Everything that I've done to the premium box, I had to do in LightBurn. Everything we've looked at so far is all Gravini, except for putting in the slot and the dispensing slot. It's pretty simple. And if you've tuned in late, there is the one hiccup, and the Gravini does not bring those circles in for the hinge. But if you've got here, just watch the replay. It's real simple to put those in. But if you're not aware of it, you will cut it out and you can't put it together. So let's jump over to LightBurn. And we're going to say new. No, I don't want to save anything. And we'll open up the premium. All right. And something that I did in the premium file that I did not do for the basic file, because the basic file is basic. This one I went with the pot lid. And I want to bring this back down here. Their pot lid and Gravini, like I said, they showed it with a slot and a slot and a slot. But here I went with it. It's actually got a little lip on it and will sit right on top of it. And I designed it so that the depth of it kept everything symmetrical. As far as the spacing between my artwork and everything else. Thought went into the design is what I'm saying. I thought about it before I did it. But because this one has the pot lid, I said, you know what? Some of them might not want the pot lid. Maybe they want the hinge lid, but with all the other improvements that I did to the premium. So with the premium file, it comes with both options. The premium file has the pot lid, and it has the option of the sides and the hinged lid. And we'll go in here, LightBurn, and take a look. LightBurn. So down here in the bottom, that right there is with the pot lid and everything you need to assemble it. And if you didn't want the pot lid, then up here is the optional hinged lid, which is just the two sides with the holes in it, the angle at the top, and then the lid with the little pivots on them and the holes. Now, one thing that I will caution you about when you do these hinged lids, be it with the basic file or with the premium file. If you are working with your perfect kerf, and because this is a box, if you wanted to, and I did, I rotated the image 45 degrees, put my material on the bed at 45 degrees, and sent the job out from the laser, cutting it all out at 45 degrees, giving me my optimum kerf size, the optimum point. And I get a really super tight fit that way. But if you do that and you add your perfect kerf to that on these hinged lids, if you add any kerf to those little round pieces that snap in there, they ain't gonna snap in there. So when you look over here at LightBurn, I've got those little pieces on a separate layer so that everything else will cut out with my kerf, and these will cut out with no kerf. And then they'll snap right into place. Put a little glue on there, and it's good to go. Now, the other differences, well, actually, I see a big comment or question from Chicago Bob, and I didn't mark my spot earlier, so let's come back up here real quick. Done. Lou says, I designed a tea bag dispenser like your popcorn dispenser. It has a teapot for the handle. Yeah, that's cool. And no, Richard, I don't have the XW. I've got mine on pre-order. I actually paid for mine, and it's due to ship out the first of the month. Come on. Okay, now Chicago Bob. On the hinged version, couldn't you just drag the circles with the rectangle in it where it needs to be instead of making new circles? When it cuts out the circle with the rectangle, it cuts the hole. Yes, but and that would actually eliminate the issue with the kerf too. And for those who aren't following what he's saying, when you download this file from Gravini, it leaves those little circles out of there. So if I delete that, what Bob's saying is you bring this into position right where it needs to be, and then just select one of those, bring it up here, put it in place, and just leave it there. Leave the square there. That'll cut that out. Cut out your rectangle. I still don't, if you did kerf though, it would affect this piece in here. It wouldn't matter here because it would go right back into that spot. But if you added any kerf to it, it's going to make this tighter. So I'd still want to put this one with no kerf whatsoever. But yes, Bob, I do believe you could put that just like that, and that would cut it out. And then you have your piece that go. All right. Chicago Bob gets the gold star for this live stream. And yeah, I never even thought of that. I played with this for 3 days, back and forth, and doing and had to place those 2 or 3 different times, and it never even dawned on me that you could do that. Sometimes you don't see the forest for the trees. But yeah. So yeah, once you put that in place, you can just leave that there and cut it out. Thanks, Bob. Everybody applaud for Bob. Use those emojis. Give him some hand claps. All right, let's see here. Oh, wait a minute. Not showing LightBurn. Way to go, dum-dum. You know what? And I do that, and I hope nobody gets offended by that. But in this day and time, when I do that, some people are liable to get offended. But you know, I grew up in a household with some autistic people, and we did things out of love sometimes, and sometimes we did things out of meanness. But it's just who I am, and I'm not trying to be mean or pick on anybody. So if anyone's offended when I do that, I'm sorry, but I do it without even thinking about it. And I'm not going to apologize again for doing it, because I'll do it again. So let's screen share this and do that again. So now we're screen sharing. Put this back. So when you download it from Gravini, there was no hole here. And a minute ago, I showed how to do that by bringing the lid up here and snapping that corner to that corner, putting that rectangle in place in position where the hinge needs to be. And what Bob was saying is all you needed to do was just grab one of these, bring it up here, and snap that corner in just like I did previously there. But then just move the lid out of the way. Leave that there, because you got to have one of those anyway. Right? You need two of them. So when it cuts that out, it's going to produce the circle you need with the rectangle in it, and it'll produce the hole in the side piece. So it's positioned right, and it will give you the piece you need. But I still would not do any kerf with this, because if you did this with additional kerf, the round circle would fit back into place, no problem, because it's going to go right back in the hole it came out of. But when you add kerf here, it would add some inward kerf here, and then it's going to make that so tight that it would not slip back onto this piece. So on those hinged pivot points, I would put them, if you do kerf, if you do additional kerf, I would do these on a separate layer with zero kerf. Zero kerf. And yes, so that was something I never even thought of. So thank you, Bob, for that. Thank you for that suggestion and being so observant that, hey, dummy, you can do this. So yes, sorry about that. Yep. Screen. Hey, stupid. Sure wish we could see his screen. All right. How do you change the kerf? Well, Greg, first thing you need to know is what kerf do you need to change it to? So if you haven't done any kerf test, in fact, this gives me a good opportunity. This is a squirrel, but it's actually a way to show something that someone reached out to me earlier tonight, and I just went completely brain dead on who emailed me. But they want to know about how to find my videos in LightBurn, in YouTube, how to find a list of videos, and so I want to show you, Greg, a video that you're definitely want to watch, because if you're not sure about changing the kerf, you probably don't know what your kerf is. And if are you working, Greg? Are you working with a diode laser or a CO2 laser, or are you working with a fiber laser? What kind of? I'll scroll down and see your comments here. But what kind of laser are you working with, Greg? Let's see here. And there we go. We got a lot of thumbs up and a lot of applause going on there. I just figured a squirrel moment. Doubt anyone takes offense. Let's see here. There, and this is for Bruce. That's who emailed me. So Bruce, I'm glad you're here, because I'm getting ready to show you how to find these videos, and I want to show this to Greg, and then show you how you put in your kerf information in LightBurn, but he hasn't told me yet what kind of laser he's working with, because that makes a difference too. No comment. You still with us? Greg Wilson, Nature Photography. What kind of laser are you using? And while I'm looking for that, let's go back. Let me pull this up over here first. Go over here, go over here, and go to my channel, YouTube. View your channel. All right, now switch. All right, so this is my homepage on YouTube. Hobo's Wood. Let's turn off Bruce's comment there. All right. So if you come right here, you've got home, videos, lives, playlist, community. If you click on videos, it's going to give you all the videos and the thumbnails that are, and it's not even by playlist. This is just all of them. And everything that's been done for the last 2 years are going to be Hobo with Wood. And there was a question that was it Bruce? I think you had about some frames. Well, you can come up here to the top to the search bar, and just if you know what subject you're looking for, frame. Not in there, not that search bar. My search bar, videos. There's the magnifying glass, or the search there, frames. And here's going to be all the videos that I've talked about frames and framing, all that different thing. So that will narrow your search down. But for Greg, if he's still here, kerf, if I search kerf, here's this video, and I'm going to drop it in the comments. I want to play it. Shut up. Unmute. Skip. I want to share, copy, paste. All right, so I just shared that link in the comments. If you haven't seen this video, find your perfect kerf. And this is for diode users. And that's why I was waiting for Greg to tell me what kind of laser he's working with. If you're using a diode laser, lasers, the spot size, whenever manufacturer tells you your spot size is this. Well, they say it's a 0.08 is what you hear a lot of times. Well, you think you got a 0.08 dot, that's your spot size. That's not what you have on a diode laser. If you look at the true technical specs from manufacturer, if you look at, for example, we'll look at Rollies real fast. Go to products, go to the MK2, and scroll down here. Right here tells you your spot size for the different modules and different power settings. And here it's a 0.06 up or by 0.14. So it's rectangular. It's not a round. It's not a round spot size. And depending on what module you're using and what power setting you're using, it's going to be a rectangular, but it's going to vary. The size of your rectangle is going to change. So what you have to do is right now, and I'm going to exaggerate it, there's your spot size that comes out to your laser. That's what you're cutting with. So as that laser beam's coming down the Y, it's really, really wide. Then when it starts moving across the X, it's fairly narrow. So when you're cutting out a box and you're cutting out a slot and a tab, and I'll draw a quick one. So as that laser beam comes across here, starts cutting that out, see how narrow it is. Then it gets here and starts coming down here. Now it's a much wider. Now it's narrow again. That's why your boxes will have a loose fit to them, because it's not a perfect kerf. And whenever it's cutting those tabs out, when that's on, is that going to be on the vertical or the horizontal, depending on which one you look at? Because now we go back here. So this is the side of the tab, and when it cuts out here, it's really, really narrow. But if this tab was on the same piece, but now it's up on the top, didn't mean to do that. The side pieces are where you get your fit. So it cuts out really skinny on when it's moving this way, but now it's cutting out really, really wide. So you do not get a uniform kerf from a diode user. You just don't when you're cutting out on an X and a Y. None of the diodes that I've seen are going to produce a uniform kerf unless you do what I say. And this only works on boxes. It only works on boxes because you're going to be moving just in a 45-degree movement. In order to have a uniform kerf on a diode laser, if this rectangular box right here is, I'm going to give it a width of 110 so I can get an even number. Now I'm going to draw out a perfect circle and tell it to be 110. And center that up. And if I rotate, oops. No matter how I rotate that spot size in there, that's about as uniform of a spot size as you can get. But the only way you can make that happen is if you take this, rotate it 45 degree and at a 45 degree angle. Now this spot size right here, instead of it moving straight on the X or straight on the Y, it's going to come here and move up at a 45 degree angle. And then when it gets here, it's going to come down at the same 45 degree angle with the exact same kerf. Here's going to come down 45 degrees, same kerf. So when you're cutting boxes, if you rotate the design on the workbed 45 degrees, optimize your material and have minimal amount of waste, rotate your material on the workbed 45 degrees. That way you can get as much stuff out of that material as possible. You can then, using that video link that I put in there, finding your perfect kerf, find out, and for mine, and here's another thing. Kerf is going to change from material to material. Your kerf will not be the same. Your focus point is also going to change your kerf, because not only is your diode laser not circular, it's not a straight line. As it comes down, it's in an hourglass shape. I've got here. Well, I made a teachable tool earlier. I don't know what I did with it, but that's why you focus your laser, because it comes down to a perfect point for your optimum cutting, and then it starts getting wider again. So if you don't have a consistent focus on the same material, your spot size is going to change. So we've gotten we've derailed, we've got away from our box here, but these are things that you need to know about your laser and how to use your laser and why things don't do what you want them to. But on some of the Osage orange I was trying to cut the other day, it was so difficult to cut, almost impossible to cut, that it was wanting to, and once I got it off the laser, it was so hot, it would burn you to touch the wood. It would scald you. And it had a gargantuan kerf because of how much burning was having to take place to get it to cut through. So material is going to vary your kerf size. Your focus can vary your kerf size. But if you are working like this material here is my 3mm Baltic birch. hobowithwood.com/premium Baltic birch. This stuff is fantastic. It's got hardly any voids in it. It's really premium stuff. Doesn't have a lot of warping. In 2 years, I've only got one box of warp material from him, and he made it good. And I'm consistent with my focus point. So I know that when I use this for my jobs, that my Rolly laser has a kerf of 0.12. So now that I know what my perfect kerf is with this material, to answer that question that was way back there a minute ago, how do you add the kerf in LightBurn? We'll go do that. So once you've done all the tests to determine what your kerf is, you come over here and like what I said, I'm not going to add any kerf to the blue layer, which is going to be with my little pivot points, but it's okay to add kerf to all the other red points because I'm going to rotate those 45 and put them on here and cut them out. So when you open up that layer, oh, I just scrolled and changed it, 0.12, there we go. There is your kerf. Kerf offset, and it's in millimeters. So it's 0.12 millimeters is what my kerf is. It's an outward kerf. Now, this is about as, for some of you, you're going to be stretching, yawning, going, but I got a feeling some of you may not be aware of this, so we'll discuss it very quickly. What is kerf? Kerf is the material that's cut away by the laser that vaporizes. It's gone. If you were using a mechanical saw, if you were using a table saw, that table saw blade is about 1/8 of an inch. So if you were to cut, if you measured a board and you wanted it to be 12 inches long and you marked it 12 inches and put a line at 12 inches and then you cut that line, it's going to be about 1/16 of an inch short because you cut it on the line marked at 1 foot and the blade cut away 1/8 of an inch. And if you cut the line, you've 1/16 of an inch too short for a foot. So that's why you hear some of the carpenters say, leave the line. They will mark it at 1 foot. And if you cut it and leave the line, you have 1 foot of material. So that's what kerf is. So with your laser, if you look at that video and go back and see how to find your perfect kerf, you find your perfect kerf, then you can add that in that sublayer or in the layer information, and it will take and move the laser, just in this case, 0.12 millimeters outward, adding that material back in so that you get a real nice tight fit whenever you press those things together. And in LightBurn, I can show you that. If I simply draw, we just take this one right here. We'll bring this rectangle down here. I'm going to duplicate it, Control D, duplicate it, and put it on the blue layer. And right now there are 2 squares, one on top of the other, a red one and a blue one. I did not do anything besides duplicate it. But if I go in here and look at the preview, and we zoom in real tight, did I have both of them selected? I must not have had them both selected because I duplicated it. All right, select them both. Now go to preview and go in real tight. It looks like there's 2 squares there. That's because this inner one is the blue layer and it has no kerf added to it. This one is the red layer with a 0.12 millimeter kerf added to that rectangle. Now, to look at it there, you can't hardly see it. It's there. You have to zoom in real tight because it's 12 hundredths of a millimeter. But when you're fitting your designs together, that makes a big difference and gives you a good snug tight fit. All right. All right, Greg said you're using a diode. So everything I just said applies to you. So definitely go back and watch that link that I shared in the comments about how to find your perfect kerf. And then you can really put together some really snug fitting boxes and your overall designs. Knowing your kerf, if you want to do the inlays, you need to know what your kerf is when you're doing inlays, because you can create a pocket and now you want to create a piece that you're going to lay in there. Well, you need to add your kerf back to the piece you're going to inlay in so that you can fill that entire pocket. So there's a lot of reasons you want to know what your kerf is. And also you're going to have to play with the different kerfs with each material. You may end up having to test, your kerf for a new material every time you bring something in. I have to, if I'm doing inlays with exotic hardwoods, I will have to I'll create my pocket and then I'll create one piece and then do a little test fit. How snug is it? Is it too loose? Then I can add to my kerf. Is it too tight? Then I can take away from my kerf. All right, so we're hour 20 in. Question mark here. I don't think you can search within a channel on a mobile device. At least I have not found a way. I don't do anything on YouTube with my mobile to speak of. I haven't gone down that road. I will YouTube when I'm sitting eating dinner on the TV, or if I'm here at the computer, need to learn something. And Jonathan says that he learned a lot about how to find and adjust kerf from, I'm guessing, that video I referenced. And I'm guessing that's the tool that I talked about in that video. And I got that tool from boxes.py. And that's a good tool to have. Put it in your art library. And then whenever you're working with a new material, you can just bring that tool in and do a quick test cut and find your perfect kerf for that material. Looking for any questions. All right, T-Man's got just to be clear, when you rotate your material, you are really just rotating the graphic. Yeah, I'm rotating the material and graphic. I rotate the graphic in LightBurn, but because I've rotated it now 45-degree angle, I want to get all the meat off of my material as possible. And if you lay your material in there on the honeycomb like regular, and now you put your piece in there at a 45-degree angle, cutting out of that square, you end up with a whole lot of waste. And if you are working with the Rolly MK2, if you want a real quick, if you've got centimeters running down the Y and across the bottom on the X, you got inches at the top and down the side on the right. If you put your top corner and your right corner material at 8 3/8 of an inch, 8 3/8 at the top, 8 3/8 on the right side, that'd be perfectly centered as far as a 45-degree. And that's on the Rolly. And it'd probably be true for about any of them, but that one snapped in, the honeycomb is fixed in place, and everything's, solid. Valerie Fanning was correct. If you extract it, you can drag and drop or copy and paste. Okay. I wasn't having any luck because I wasn't in the zipped folder. And I have done that before, but for some reason, this just wasn't working for me. But hey, you get it. You got it. And that's all that matters. Well, thank you, Tom. Greatly appreciated. And the nameplate, I sent you an email. The nameplate with the roller coaster went out in the mail yesterday or today. And I should have sent you a tracking number on that. Let me know what he thinks about that. And thank you for the donation, sir. I ain't real sure, but Astrid's got what is that? A million? Did you learn a million things tonight, or do you owe somebody that much money? All right, let's see here. Yeah, that brings up a good. Nancy says there's 93 of us, 94 of us now, only 60 likes. I'm going to attribute this to that the majority of my viewers are what I refer to lovingly as my kind old farts. They're embracing technology, but they're not all that keen on fully embracing it. You know, you start liking stuff. Well, okay, now you're entered into that algorithm. Well, YouTube now knows you like this. So guess what? They're going to start suggesting you might like this based on the fact that you said you like that. The more input you put in, the more it wants to feedback and give you. That's good and bad. If you don't want everybody knowing your business, you don't want Google knowing your business, then don't like anything. Don't give them any more information than you have to. But if you like, share, subscribe this video, it helps me immensely. I say immensely. I just got a notification today that I think they deposited, they got $420 last month from Google. YouTube does not pay my bills. YouTube doesn't feed me for a month. It doesn't do much of nothing. I get by on the support of my patrons. My patrons are what keeps me alive and keeps my channel going. Banners. So, you know, like, share, and subscribe to this video. That will help me with the analytics in YouTube. It's not going to cost you anything. Let's see here. Kent says, we're not old, we're just seasoned, and that's it. And Chris says, I'm well matured. And there you go. And I don't know, Stephen, I've got a few designs that you might like. If you're a car guy, go over to hobowithwood.com and check out my not old, just classic. I got a few designs that I made. They were cake toppers and desk fonts, and the same thing. I'm not old. I'm a classic. Yeah. No, I am old. Yeah. A lot of us got that. You know, I'll be 55, I think 55 this year, 55, 54. I don't know. I'll be in my mid 50s this year. So I'm a young pup compared to the majority of my viewers. Let's see here. So that's how I found you. I'm so happy to get you popping up in my feed. Yep. If you've liked a video about lasers and you've never heard of me, but you've liked something from, you know, Steve Makes It or this or whatever, then hey, yeah, that's how the algorithm works. Same thing with your Netflix stuff. When you're watching a movie, at the end of it, it says, rate it. Do you like this or not? Take the if you want some suggestions, be sure and give it that rating. Give it a 2 thumbs up or a 1 thumbs up, or no, you didn't like it. You don't want to see any more like it. Those algorithms, they work. Let's see here. Yep. And yep. Jet Dale says, I resemble that mark. And Jeff says, yeah, I'm young. I'm a young pup compared to the majority of mine. Yep. A whippersnapper. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about how many times I've earned my aches and pains. I may be chronologically that old, but my body is about the age of a 100-year-old. Oh yes, thank you, Astrid. Thank you, because this is a really, really cool thing. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to scroll down here, and hey, there you go. Thank you, Chicago Bob. Pass the Geritol. All right. Okay. All right. I'm at the bottom of those comments. Put in a bunch of asterisks. You know, turn that off. And Dale says he got into the habit of clicking the like button as soon as he logs in. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. You know, if you just want to help the algorithm, absolutely. You click in, log in, just hit the like, done. But usually me, I will wait and give that honest feedback. Did I like that? If I didn't, you know, did I find it extremely bad? And I might even give it a thumbs down. But let's see here. The grain of the wood will be at a 45 if you rotate for kerf. The grain of the wood isn't going to matter with your kerf. And if you're using plywood, your grain is alternating anyway. So the grain is not a factor with the kerf with Baltic birch. Now, if you're using some really, really soft hardwoods, then the pulpwood might burn differently than the grains, and that's going to be a different type of thing. But when it comes to finding your kerf and you're working with the plywood, either what is it, basswood or the Baltic birch or any of that, the way plywood's made, if you're not aware, the first layer, your grain's running this way. The second layer, the grain's running this way. The next layer, they alternate the grains in plywood. That's how you get your strength. All right. Thank you, Brad. Thank you very much. And T-Man says, I enjoyed your video last week when you were working on a porch. Boy, you live in a busy... I live about 2.5 blocks from the exact center of the county that I live in. I live at the third busiest intersection in the city. So yeah, it's quiet right now. There's usually sirens almost nonstop. All right. Let's see. What didn't mean to do that? Or what was that? Oh, okay. Didn't turn that off. Why is this? Oh, my mouse is acting up. Go away. There we go. Yeah, and it depends on what type of material you, because some of them they don't use another veneer in the middle. Some do. It all depends on your material. Some of them use, and I've seen some really junk wood that's like you said, it's 2 veneers with some filler material in there. I think I've even seen Clacks where he cut some, and it was fibers. It was cloth, like fiberglass or something like that was in it. You know, some of that stuff, especially if you get it from some of the box stores, some of that stuff is, the middle is full of garbage. All right, about to the bottom, and then we're going to go look at that font. Ed says, did you use kerf with the inlay? Yes, I did. Up. And Eric's making a reference to the city I live in. They've got a bunch of nicknames for it. It's Gastonia, and the rednecks, it's the gas house. And there's G-Town. That's what the yuppies want to call it. It's G-Town, the gas house. But most notoriously, we're known as Little Chicago. It's even a movie. There's a movie out. If you Google it, Little Chicago, it's about my ridiculous hometown and how bad the murder per capita is. And it ranks right up there with Chicago. It is not the greatest place to be. And I wish like heck I could sell where I'm at and move to a mountaintop in Tennessee away from everything. Okay, now the font. Font. Close you. Go away. Let's switch. All right, let's clean some of this up. I don't want all that. Go away. And I'm going to grab, come on. Is that's separate. All right, so I'm going to grab that, bring this over here. Delete. All right, so that's font is Flubber. Flubber. And what I was looking for was a font that was, I don't know, in my mind's eye, it kind of mimicked popcorn. It's, round, distorted. It's okay. I like that. That looked pretty good. But that in and of itself did not give the illusion that I wanted to do. And you can do this with just about any font. In fact, I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, duplicate it, and I'm going to bring it down here. And we'll change this font to, I'll just randomly pick one. Let's see here. I want a bold. There we go. We'll do copper black. All right. And one more. Control D, duplicate, and we'll do one that's not bold. We'll do Centaur. That's thin. All right. Now, you can get free fonts. Get rid of Eric. Go away, Eric. Go away, Eric. Okay. You can get free fonts from DaFont and a few other places. But if you are not familiar with downloading fonts, installing fonts, you can do some creative stuff with what you already have at your disposal. And I'm just going to select this. And let's move these out of the way for right now. Select this one. And I'm going to do an offset. And I'm going to do a 1.5 millimeter offset outward. I'm not going to delete the original, but I am going to select the resulting object. So I'm going to have my offset selected. Say OK. So now that the offset is selected, all I've got to do is come grab that center square for movement, and I'll just move it slightly like that to wherever I feel like I like the look. And that makes it look three-dimensional and created that, well, that's gone because I just moved it. But that gave it a pop. It made it look like it was popping right off the page in three-dimensional. And you do the same thing with this one. So you can offset, rather. And say, OK. And then you can just move that wherever you like. And you don't have to move it off center, but to me, whenever you just leave it centered up like that, that looks like it's just an offset. It's nothing really spectacular about it. But just moving it just a little bit changes the whole perspective of that font. It makes it now look three-dimensional. Offset. Come on. Mouse. And we'll give this one just a 1 millimeter offset because it's a real thin font to begin with. And then move it down. Now, what you can do too is, oh, you know what? I'm getting ready to change this look completely with one change. I'm going to delete that. I'm back to my original font. I'm going to go back to the offset tool. But instead of doing a round corner, I'm going to do a corner style. Do 1 millimeter outward. Okay. And now that it's a corner, I will grab a corner and bring it down. Well, that's a little bit too far. This particular font's not that great for that. And actually, that's probably too large. Let's do a smaller offset. So delete that. Oh, you know which font this looks good on, I think, is, well, I didn't mean to delete it. In fact, we'll undo that. Let's look at engravers. Engravers, there we go. And now do offset, and we'll do 0.5 millimeter corner. Okay. And now grab that and bring it down. And now that makes it look like it's embossed, which is another way of saying 3D. But that, to me, whenever you engrave that, it makes it look like that end is jumping right up off there like a letter on a license plate. It looks like it's stamped just by changing the offset and different offset sizes, changing it from a corner round, a round corner style to the corner style gives it a different look. But that little offset trick's what I did to the Flubber font to make that popcorn look like it's popping right off of the engraved surface. And I don't know if I said thank you, Kent, but thank you very much for that. Greatly appreciated. Extremely appreciated. And Sharon says, I can't imagine not loving your videos. Well, thank you. You know, sometimes I wonder, who am I to think that? But hey, I'm having fun. I enjoy what I'm doing. And I got 100 of you here, and we're an hour, 40 minutes in. We're learning stuff, lots of numbers. Hey, I thank you for being here, every one of you. All right. Yeah, I did. You did not show where to change the kerf in LightBurn. I did. You were asleep, but let's go back and look at that again real quick. Just because if you missed it, somebody else might have missed it. It is in the cut layer, but if I'm wanting to add, in fact, we'll go ahead and get rid of all of that. Actually, you know what? I want to get my original popcorn, put it back. I don't need to because I got it saved. We'll get rid of all of this. But when I'm going to cut, and now let's switch this because you can't see the LightBurn screen because I'm not the brightest sometimes. Okay, so if I'm going to send this to LightBurn and cut this out, I will want to add kerf to the red layer only if I'm going to be doing it on, and I'm actually, what I do is I take and I will Control D, duplicate that, send it over to the center of the page. And then I will take my toolpath. My material is 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters, not 3,000 millimeters, 300. And then I'll put it in the center of the page and then rotate it 45 degrees. Now select my object and rotate it 45 degrees. And if you're wondering, how did you do that? How'd you rotate it 45 degrees? Hold your shift button and hit your greater than sign or your period key. Holding shift and hit the greater than while you're holding the shift will rotate 45 degrees clockwise. Hit the less than and it'll rotate counterclockwise 45 degrees. But here, because we're working with a square, because we're cutting out cubes or squares or boxes, by rotating the material 45 and rotating my design 45, I can nest this stuff in here and get as many pieces as I can on there and then send the job out. But I'm wanting this red layer to have the additional kerf on it. So if I open up my cuts and layers setting, the editor, right here is where you have your kerf settings. And for my laser, and this material, it's a 0.12 millimeter outward kerf. So you enter your kerf value right here. And if for whatever reason, if you want it to be a looser fit, and there are times you want a looser fit, when you're cutting puzzles, if you've got a jigsaw puzzle, and especially if you're making a jigsaw puzzle out of a 300 by 300 material that's a 10 or 12 piece puzzle for a toddler, well, you don't want it to be a super tight fit. You want it to be a loose fit. So what you would do there is you would actually give it a negative kerf, which would be an inward kerf. Sorry, a negative is inward and a positive is an outward kerf. But you set your kerf settings there in the cut settings editor for each layer. And here I've got a 0.12 outward kerf on my cut layer. And that this is also going to be a cut, but I don't want it to have kerf. So it has a 0 kerf setting. So the kerf is off. So there, midnight is where you do your kerf. That was one of the funniest movies ever. One of the best comedic actors of all time. And if you guys don't get the reference that Carl's referring to, you need to go to your Netflix or your Prime and what was it? The Absent-Minded Professor. Funny, and you won't the original Jerry Lee Lewis, not Jerry Lee Lewis, Jerry Lewis. Brad says all lasers are different. Use his method when the file can be rotated 45 degrees. Kerf can be hard. All diodes are going to be. This would work with all diodes. This doesn't work with CO2s. That's why I was asking Greg earlier what kind of lasers is he working with. I don't know that this would work with a fiber laser. It's not going to work with a CO2 laser. This should work with any diode. Once you've done the test to find your perfect kerf, rotating it 45 degrees, and even when you do that kerf test, when you go to that video and you find that kerf tool, cut it out at a 45 degree angle. Because if you don't cut the tool out at a 45 degree, then you're not going to actually have the right test results. So cut out the test tool at 45 degrees, find your perfect kerf, and on a diode user, this will work. When I shared this with Leo, the owner of Rolly Automation, he was like, something so simple that because he's had multiple people in the past years who've like, how can we get a perfect kerf? Well, this is how you get a perfect kerf with a diode laser. But it only works when you're doing boxes because you're able to go straight up that 45 and straight down that 45, straight back this 45, straight. If you're trying to do an artistic design and it's requiring to move it at all, then that doesn't work. This only works with boxes and it only works with diodes. Dell question, do you have a video on downloading and installing fonts? I do not. Because there are so many different operating systems, the Mac, the Windows, the different versions of this. For me and mine, it's real simple. You download it, and once it's downloaded in the download folder, I open my download folder and click on it, and Windows asks me, do you want to install this? Yes, and it installs the font. But I'm not a technical guru guy when it comes to softwares and the back ends and all that stuff. I'm really good at the creative aspect. Like this box, this idea. I never would have thought of it, but once Valerie suggested it, I'm like, okay, this could be nice. And then, and expand on that. Yeah. What about doing that? And then somebody else said, hey, man, what about the noodles? So, what I forget what those things were called now, but those instant noodles, and a hot chocolate. Somebody else mentioned tea packs, all kinds of things. Brad says an image or a font can be used if it is a gift. Once you charge it, becomes commercial. Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. At the end of the day, we are laser buddies. Come on, my mouse is. I think I might have to expand my RAM again. I've got my hard drive situations straightened out with the new external hard drive that I bought, but I'm still not. I actually was planning to do a recorded video for either last night or tonight. I recorded probably 45 minutes And then when I went to stop that recording and do some editing, it wouldn't stop. And that's a software issue. I could not access it. It wouldn't stop recording. It wouldn't respond. It was just hung up. So I ended up having just to shut it all down. It was all gone. And I said, you know what? The heck with it. We won't record. We'll just come to you live. Yeah, Chris says first nest and then rotate them all before. Yep. Yeah, if you're going to do a bunch of different pieces, nest them in there and rotate the whole image 45 and done with it. Yes. If you change from a 10 watt to 30 watt on the Rolly, will the kerf change? Yes, yes, yes. Where is it still up here? Yes, it is. Switch and switch. And also on here's the 10 watt module. The 10 watt focus, it's still rectangular with a 0.06 by 0.14 if it's strictly the 10 watt module. But the 10 watt module on the switch, or the 10 watt mode on the switchable module, if it's the 20 watt module, it's 0.2 by 0.06. It's inverted. Here it was 0.06 by 0.14. Here it was flipped and a little bit bigger. But then on the 30 watt, it's a 0.14 by 0.18. Now that's almost rectangular. The 30 watt module in a 10 watt mode is almost a perfect square. That is actually the best one out of all of the possible spot sizes. You could probably get by with the 30 watt module if you don't mind the slower cutting speeds. If you wanted to cut out of box with the MK2 using the 10 watt mode on a 30 watt module, you wouldn't need to do the rotation because it's almost a perfect square already. I think that was the same thing. Yes. All right. Off subject. Why not? Squirrel. What's the difference between the square trace and the circle trace option in LightBurn? I haven't tried the circle one yet. It's actually rubber band trace. And the difference is whenever you, let's go over, see, turn that off, go over here to LightBurn, auto, switch to LightBurn, and we'll get rid of that. If I've got a circle on here, you see these four squares that surround it? Those are your size. There we go. The four corner squares. That's the outer perimeter. You know, the outermost here, and here, and it makes a square. So if I came over here and use this frame button, the square frame, if you hover over, in fact, it's going to go away. But if I hover over and wait, it says, trace the cut boundary with the laser head beam disabled. Speed is taken from the move. All right. Well, what it's going to do is it's going to move the laser head or in a square around its outermost perimeter. But if I use that same, and I come over here to this, the rubber band frame, this will trace a rubber band boundary with the laser head. So it would move the laser in a perfect circle around and show you exactly where it's going to cut out. And where this is handy, I never use the square framing tool. Never. Because I've got these laying all over my shop. I need this, and I need to cut one of these out of here. And if I put this on here and I tell it to do the square framing, then it may not look like it's going to work, because it's going to move in a way that it's going to want to encompass the entire square area of that triangle shape. Whereas the rubber band frame will move it in a perfect triangular shape, and it will show me exactly where it's going to cut out. And I know if I've got this positioned right or my material. So I don't use the regular frame. I use rubber band frame for everything. So that's the difference between the two frames. I hope that helped, Dana. Yeah, we're not doing 5 hours. We're not doing 5 hours. In fact, well, shoot, we got almost coming up on 2 hour mark. I'll try and get through all the questions and see where we're at here. So could Leo? No. Laser module size, and we talked about it. And it's only beneficial. It's only beneficial when you're cutting out a box. And how many of your engravings are you, or cuttings are you doing a box? And the size of the module, the way you would have to try it, it would then, to mount it to the gantry and secure it would get really big. We talked about it. It's too easy and too simple just to rotate your image, and you don't have to rotate your material. I only rotate my material to maximize the use of the material. Yeah, I'm sure there is. You could just copy your font folder and go to your file explorer, or the Explorer, copy your fonts, move them over to a thumb drive, and then copy and then drag and drop it back into your new one. Seems like that should work, but I'm not a Windows guy. But that's what I would do if I was going to try and move all my fonts from one to another. Okay, did I hear correctly that kerf only works on boxes? What about the kerf when you're doing inlays? The perfect kerf only works when you're doing boxes. I do add kerf when I do inlays, but that kerf is going to change because it's not moving. The perfect kerf only works when you're moving in 45-degree angles. And that's why, and because of the variance in materials, and if you're doing inlays, you're working with walnut, you're working with maple, you're working with Paduke, you're working with all these different types of materials, and they're all going to have slightly different kerfs as well. And because depending on the shape and of the design you're working it with, if it's a circle, if it was a perfect circle, then you'd probably come close to having the same kerf as your perfect kerf, close. But if for some reason you had a whole lot more movement on the wider part of your spot size than you did the narrower part, you're going to have to play with your kerf some. And that's why I said earlier, when I'm doing my inlays, I'll cut out my pocket. Then if it's 5 or 6 pieces that I'm going to now cut out and inlay in there, I'll cut out one of those, try my kerf, see how well it fits. Is it too tight, or is it too loose? And then adjust it accordingly, and then cut out the entire piece with that kerf that I feel like works best. Inlays are not difficult, but it does require knowing your laser, knowing how to optimize your laser, getting familiar with the materials, the different wood types, and take some patience, but it ain't hard. It's not I wish that's what it was. This is one of those track balls. It's not that it's stuck. It's freezing. It'll move and it just stops. I thought it was a battery, and I changed the battery, but that didn't help. I think I'm having some other issues as far as RAM or just memory issues, and it's the computer's bogging down for a split second. All right, we're at the 2 hour mark. Let's see here. If you don't remind him, he'll just keep going, especially if Energizer's battery. I'll keep going as long as there's questions that I can try to address and help. But I really don't, there's 80 of you still here. And I knew that this was potentially good. So I did have dinner before going live. Question: your 2-year stream, Steve, you'll have enough donations to get a new. What now? Your 2-year stream, you'll have enough donations to get a new computer, mouse, and camera. We'll keep you going for another 2 years. Well, from your lips to God's ears. Yeah, and I think I just need to. I updated the RAM when I bought this computer, but I think I'm just overtaxing it right now. I might need to up it some more. And again, I'm not a tech guy, so that's speculation. That's where I'm going to start. Yeah, kerf. You do want to use kerf for your inlays, but your perfect kerf only works on boxes. Ed's asking, how did you make the engraved corners around the popcorn sign? Hey, are you talking about these? Are you talking about the artwork, Ed? I'll get on down here. I want to make sure that's what you're referring to. The corner engravings. Yeah, engraved. How did you make the engraved corners around the pop? Okay, that's what you're asking. So very, very, very difficult. It's one of the hardest things you will ever do in LightBurn. And find up there's mouse. All right, delete that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it over here so you can see this. I'm going to copy, Control D, duplicate that, and send it to the center of the workbed. So that's the blank one. Now with that blank piece there, I went over to my art library, and I've got, let's see, is it in accents? I've got a bunch of different accents in here, and I've got a bunch of corners. Where's my corner? Corners. I've only got 2 corners there. Designs, dividers. Now these dividers, I actually drew these dividers, add to graphic, and that was done with just drawing a straight line and then using the edit tools to warp it and move it around. But for these corners on this design, it was much, much more difficult than going over to the art library and bringing it in. Now these, like I said, I drew these out and just saved them in my art library. When I'm bored, don't have anything else going on, which is very, very rare lately. Since first of the year, I've been humping it, boys and girls. But I would just sit and doodle and draw things out with LightBurn. But these corners were a whole lot more difficult than that. So delete. Free corner filigree images. And I looked for free downloads. And once I found one that I liked that was a free image that I could download, I just went in there and downloaded the picture or the image that I liked, and auto, nope, wrong one, auto, go back to here, and let's see, is it still in here at all? No, it's not in there. But there we go. We'll just grab one of these, ungroup it again, Control D, duplicate it. Once I had that free image, I downloaded it, brought it into LightBurn, and then used the trace. I'm sure, Ed, you're familiar with the trace tool in LightBurn. Just traced that graphic, positioned it where I wanted it, Control D, duplicated it, used my greater than button with the shift key. No, take that back. Just the greater than button, rotated it one time, moved it over, Control D, duplicate it, greater than, I didn't duplicate it, less than, Control D, duplicate, now rotate, Control D, duplicate, and rotate. Now to make sure I had them all symmetrical, got them to the right height there. Those should be at the right height. Then make sure they're together on the left and on the right. And now that they're, oh, didn't want to do that. Well, you can, you select the whole thing and then hold Control and deselect that one. And now group those. Now those are grouped. And now that they're grouped, hold my shift button and select that and now center it, but that's low because of that design the way it is. So but now that it's centered up, I use my eyeball to put it where I think it needs to be above that line there. Or you could come over here, do a toolpath, come to that corner, to that corner. Now you've just created a perfect rectangle. Grab those, hold your shift button, select that toolpath, and tell it to go to center. And there, I was close. Now that's perfectly centered in that area there. Now, in order to make the lines, I grabbed my pencil tool and I said, that looks good right there. Draw a straight line. My mouse just froze. There we go. Just froze again. Oh, there we go. Come on, get up here. There we go. There. And then this one I'm going to make a little bit longer. So I'm going to come in here about there, just eyeballing it. About there. Once I got them two, I selected them both, put them on the black path so I can see them, and then tell them to go to their vertical centers, or they're not, now they're centered up. And offset half of a millimeter outward, and we'll give it a round. And that rounds off those the ends, the difference between there's the square and there's the round. That just looks more finished, looks better. Say okay, Control D, duplicate that, rotate it, put it over here to the right, put this one to the left, get rid of those original ones. I should have said delete original, but I didn't. And do the same thing up top and the bottom. And that's how I created that artwork over there. I cheated with the filigree. I could draw that, but I cheated. I looked for free corner SVG filigree. Doop doo 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 doop doo doo doo. Do, 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 do. Hey, there's Jack. Jack's been a ghost. Hey, Jack. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm aware of that, Midnight. That's not the issue. It moves and spins freely. It's not that. Whenever it gets gummed up, uh, there's a hole in there, and you can just take and you know this, but for those that don't, we'll show them what you're talking about. The ball pops out, and what can happen? There's optical sensors in there, and those optical sensors can get full of dust and debris, and it can actually gum up. It doesn't want to rotate as freely. But even if it's just a dust over the optical sensors, enough of it can keep it from working properly. But it's not a mechanical issue, and it's not an electrical, it's not a battery issue. It's either a communication issue through the Bluetooth, or it's just a memory. But the only thing that seems to be going on is the mouse just, and it may be the mouse itself is giving up the ghost. It's a year and a half old. But right there, the mouse just froze it. There you go. And I'll click turn you off. Let's see. uh y'all won't let that go. That was a mistake. I I I advertised I was going to talk about two different projects, and me being me, the first project, squirrel, 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 and it was forever. And I didn't get to the second one, and so I said, "Well, we've been here an hour and a half already, whatever, 2 hours. But if you want to do the second week," and y'all said yes, let's do it, and we did. I will not overcommit again. Let's see here. Yeah, I enjoy watching when Kate's there. Looking for any questions. And if, all right, I've got to the bottom of the scroll, got another question mark. I get the same freezing with my mouse when I have a lot of apps running, along with LightBurn just started with the 1.5 version. And I've been on 1.6 now for quite a while, but that doesn't mean anything, because it may have started with 1.5 and something else is going on in the background. Because now that you say that, now what I'm going to start paying attention to, and I don't recall at this point, I don't recall an instance where the mouse has frozen and LightBurn was closed. And I've only got my tab open for the stream LightBurn and the one tab open for Windows Explorer with the Rolly automation and the Google where I did the search. So I don't have 30 tabs open. But now that you say that, I don't, whenever I'm just in doing my web design work and adding files, working with YouTube, I don't recall of a single instance where my mouse froze, but it is freezing when LightBurn's open. I have to pay more attention to that and see. You might be onto something there. There might be something going on in the background. Yeah. You still have a Saturday video? Yes. This Saturday will be at 9 p.m. because last Saturday was 3 p.m., right? Calendar days, yeah, 9 p.m. this coming Saturday, 9 p.m. And honestly, what my intentions were this morning when I got up, my intentions, and you know what they say about intentions. My intentions were to give this file to you guys tonight. with the basic design, give that to you tonight. And then I didn't have this finished yet. I was still working on this and still working on the pot lid and the dimensions on that. Because like I said, this was not created in Gravini. I had to do this from scratch. And it took me about three different times to get it to the fit that I wanted and everything right. But I was able to do it within 30 minutes of going live. So once I did, I said, you know what? Well, throw it out there. And because my plan was give you this, finish designing this, and then show you what you can go from here to here with just a little bit of effort. And this was going to be Saturday's video. So now I don't know what I'm going to do for Saturday. I got some ideas. I've got lots of ideas, and I've got lots of jobs that I need to tackle. I need to make, and I told you guys a few weeks ago that I will, and this will be a weekly video, not a live stream Saturday video. I need to make a 4 foot by 4 foot big square sign and put out in the front yard, and it's going to say for sale. And I want to show off the engraving, and actually instead of putting up a piece of plywood and painting it on there, I'm going to get a 4 by 4 piece of plywood, put it out there. It used to be the sign for the church that had all the church hours and all that on there, but I'm just make a for sale sign, and I'm going to engrave it. I'm going to do a 4 foot by 4 foot engraving, and this I'll use my Falcon 2. I'll take the wood out onto the front porch, take the laser out there, set everything up, and use print and cut to do a 4 foot sign, 2 sides. Put it out there, and I'll probably do, when doing that, I will film it all and hopefully be able to edit it all together and make a video of that whole process like I did when I did the reclamation of the junk wood. Dale, if I don't change the Saturday times, it causes more headache and conflict. I do it for 2 reasons. I do it because I'm trying to appeal to as many of the masses as possible. And right now it is 10 p.m., 10:15 Eastern time. So right now it's 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. It's 3:15 in the morning in the UK. And I got a lot of viewers in the UK and in the European market. And I don't know if Chris is still here. Chris, what time is it in Australia where you're at right now? It's midday for you, ain't it? Isn't we 12 hours apart? Is it 10:15 in the morning for you? But by having a 3 p.m. early show, I can appeal to a lot of the folks who don't get to watch it live because of the time change. Yeah, Chris says it's a 12-hour difference. So it's 10:15 in the morning for him now. But when I go 9, or when I do my 3 p.m. show, it's 3 a.m. for him, obviously, and not a great time for him to watch. But it's the perfect time for the folks in Europe to watch because it's 8 o'clock in the evening. But the other reason, and I do it not to avoid conflict so much as I do it for my viewers. The other channel, the former channel, does their live every other Saturday. And if I kept mine at 9 o'clock every Saturday, every other Saturday, I would be going heads up against that other channel. And a lot of you guys still like to watch that channel. And if I'm going heads up against that other channel, now you have to choose. So by me doing a 3 p.m. when they're doing their 9 p.m., I eliminate that problem. So you've got a smartphone most likely. If not, you can put it in your Google Calendar in your computer. If you didn't want to miss them and you wanted to make sure, you could set yourself reminders. If you are subscribed to the channels and you've hit the notification bell and you have your notifications allowed on your devices, then you'll get notifications when I'm going live. So, but there are several reasons that this is done, and I just feel like it's the best for everybody to stagger those Saturday lives. LightBurn it does an auto backup. If I've seen, when I go to save a file, I'll see in the folder there's an auto backup already there. LightBurn they did an auto backup. Now I don't know if that's something that's in the settings that you have to set up, or if LightBurn just does it automatically. Dwight, I'm sorry, I don't know for sure how that happens and how often it does do that. But I do know that if I have a system crash and it goes down, whenever I power it back up and LightBurn comes on, LightBurn will ask, do you want to open the last previous file? And it's bringing that in from the last auto save. And that's happened for me a few times. But I don't know if that's something you have to set up and if it's in the system requirements. To get more information on that, you might go over to the LightBurn forum. Really good place to get a lot of information. The LightBurn forum. Question mark Bill says, I just downloaded the popcorn box design. It did many red and blue squares and circles after a lot of misspellings there, so I don't know what the heck you're talking about. It did many red and blue squares and circles after moving them out of the way. In the center was the design without move RM out. And yeah, I don't slow down and retype your question because I don't know what you're talking about. I'm lost. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to download. Now, which one did you download? Did you download the basic or the premium? So rewrite your question clearly. And which file did you download? And I'll download the exact same file and look and see if I can recreate whatever you're talking about. That's Bill. Yeah, Dave says, yeah, it's 3 in the morning. He's gone. He's gone. Thank you for hanging out as long as you did, Dave. Next week won't be for you, but the week after next be all for you. Bill's got a follow-up. Did not find the hinged circles with square. There's not a hinged circles with the square. The rectangle inside. They should be on there. But which file did you download? Did you do the premium or the basic? All right. Brad says, Dwight, you need to set autosave times, but but it is best to save after any major changes on your design. So there must be an auto save option. Like I said, mine's turned on because it does it, but I don't know if it's set on the default or if it's something I set up in the very beginning 2 years ago and I don't remember it. Dave says, I'm just saying I'm easily confused. Oh, what are you confused about, Dale? Did I miss something from you, Dale? Lighthouse. Oh, the change. Oh, you're talking about the changes of time. Well, hey, you seen what I did, didn't you? I had to open up my calendar to see what time it was going to be because I didn't know. If I didn't have that in my calendar and I had no reminders, I wouldn't be on time for my own live stream. I get it, brother. I have to do those reminders or else I would be confused about when it's coming. Yeah, Brad, I've made the joke. You say he's a vampire. I've made the joke that he's a bot, that he's not even a real person. It's just a bot that's going around on all the streams because he's in every stream and he's always there no matter what time. Jason says it's in the settings and you can change the frequency on how often it backs up. And Chris says, yes, you can set autosaves in settings/files if you don't like the default save time. Come on. Bill, I wish you would clarify a little bit here because if there's an issue, I can correct. Okay, he says he's downloaded the basic. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm at the bottom. I'm going to bring in the basic file. We're going to go over here to LightBurn. Switch. I'm going to get rid of all this. New. No. And I will go to the website. I don't want to go there. I want to go to my admin. There we go. So I can go to the library and download what you downloaded. Media library, basic. All right, so here's the basic file. I'm going to download that file. It's in my download folder. So now I go to my download folder. Open that up. And now I can double click that LightBurn. Now see here, I double click that LightBurn and it brings it straight in. But when I tried to do that with the Gravini, it would not work. But right here is what you're asking about. You said they're not there. They're there. If you don't, they're on the blue layer. So if you don't have, for some reason, if you have your blue layer turned off, you won't see them. So make sure that you have your blue layer turned on, but the hinges, the circles with the rectangles are right there that need to go up here. So that was the only thing that I recognized in your comment. You said you didn't see those. They're there. And if you go to move stuff around, if you grab this and move it, it's not grouped. Nothing is grouped because you need it to be ungrouped in order to resize your slots and tabs to fit your material. So the only thing I recognized in your question was that you didn't have those circles with the rectangles, but they're there on the blue layer because those were on the separate layer because you didn't want to have any kerf on those if you added kerf to the design at all. And he says he sent an email. So let's see here. Bring you over here. Oh, you know what? I wonder who. So this is the email he sent me. I guess this is the image that you see when you bring up the file. Those circles are not there. But I think it's because of the way you've got your settings. It looks like you, I don't know what you've got. Let's look. Let's go back over here to LightBurn. I'm gonna see if I can recreate what you've got. Window. No, it's not wireframe course. Yeah, I don't know if you select that entire thing and you get that, and you had that. I don't know what you've got going on. I don't even know what screen that. Where did you get this picture at? Because this doesn't look like LightBurn to me. What are you? Are you using LightBurn? Yeah, it's okay. No, I don't know what software that is. There we go. Move and align selection as group. Yeah. Uh, what are you using? What software is that? That's not LightBurn. What are you working with there? Inkscape. I don't know nothing about Inkscape. Double alt, nothing, nada, zip, zilch. I don't know nothing about Inkscape. And I saved those and exported them as LightBurn files, DXF files, SVGs, and AIs. But they, all of those versions had those circles and rectangles in them. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, Brother Bill. I'm at a loss on that, my friend. I'm a LightBurn guru, but I don't know nothing about no Inkscape. Nada. All right. So now we figured out that issue. I was afraid it was something, a corrupt file, but it's not a file. That's an Inkscape, something going on, and or settings within your Inkscape that I can't help you. I'm sorry. I don't have any clues on that. He says he sent another email, but I don't think it's going to matter none because it's Inkscape. I don't know nothing about it. Yeah, I'm totally lost on that one, Brother Bill. I got your second email, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, my friend. That's well, that's great. It wasn't for me. Okay. All right. We're 2.5 hours in. We're done. We're halfway to 5 hours, and I'm done. I'm done. We're at the bottom. No more questions. The last question was a question that I could not help with because it was Inkscape, and I'm not versed in Inkscape at all. So we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to go get my doggy. We're going to go to the RV, get her a treat or two. And okay, and that's why. Oh, I'm glad I put the lid on that. I just knocked over my RC. I still can't open it anytime soon. All right, so Brother Bill, it's what as I suspected because those circles with the rectangles, they're there. The fact that you can't see them, you have a layer or something that's turned off. And I don't know how Inkscape works, but my pal Woody says he just opened it in Inkscape and it's fine. So he's opened it in Inkscape. He sees all the pieces and everything's there as it is. It's and I don't know how Inkscape works. So I'm talking out my butt right now. But if Inkscape works like LightBurn with the multiple layers, you can turn layers on and off. You most likely have that layer turned off and you just can't see it. But again, I'm talking out my butt. I don't know what I'm talking about. But thankfully, Woody says he has opened it and it's there and it's fine and everything's where it should be. So, you might just reach out to your or your Inkscape support or anybody in an Inkscape forum, find out what's going on. I can't help you there. And there's an interesting comment. Peggy says her mouse is froze up this weekend, but only when she had LightBurn open. Yeah, I'm thinking that might be my issue there because it works fine. It just on occasion with LightBurn open and then it start moving again. So in spite of the fact, let's see, Jack says you can have a vector with a really fine line in Inkscape. Almost can't see them sometimes. Yeah. In spite of the fact that it's, I almost don't want to play my song anymore because I've heard that somebody said Saturday that the other channel has now got like 4 or 5 songs. I'm like, come on. So, but you know what? Somebody else mentioned in the comments, imitation is one of the best forms of however that saying goes. So what the heck? We will play my song going out. And actually, yeah, we won't bring up Memorial Day yet. We'll save that for Saturday. And what's Chris contributing here? Chris says, I think there's an underlying problem in LightBurn with a combo of wireless devices, USBs, and cameras all trying to communicate. Well, this is the only wireless device that I'm using. All my cameras are not wireless, but I've got several USBs. And this just started. And someone else mentioned that, they've started having some issues in 1.5. I'm on 1.6, and it's even been updated since. but it could have been something that happened in 1.5. Yeah, imitation is the best form of flattery. Thank you, Dwight. Uh, yeah. Well, as far as I, his claim, is he used to write songs, so I don't doubt for a minute that he wrote the lyrics. I mean, I wrote the lyrics. That's not hard. And the music. Now I can I cannot write music. I used to read music, but it's been a long time since I put sheet music in front of me. But I can sit down with friends, and I've got friends who can play by ear, and just give them a couple of chords and tell them what I'm wanting the melody to be, and they can fill in the blanks. And Saturday I will do my I'll play my Red, White, and Blue song. I wrote that after 9/11 in 2001, was it? After the attacks in New York. I wrote words and music to that too. It's recorded and registered with the Library of Congress, and I'm even been talking to John Schneider, trying to poke and prod him to take it and maybe even tweak it if he felt necessary and use it, because he does a lot of patriotic songs, a lot. So I'm hoping to have my song, or at least a version of my song, recorded by Schneider soon. So we'll see. Well, that's a big thing, uh, and I've not done that, but from what I understand, you can write the lyrics, and I guess tell it to put the lyrics to music. So maybe maybe they ain't told no fibs. He wrote the lyrics. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't care. Here we go. Clack was talking about that last week. He's just putting certain things on different hubs. Yeah, now that might be an idea. Get all my cameras on a hub, the video processor, kind of break things up so they're not all going into one USB. That might help. I don't even know where this is Bluetooth, and I don't even know where the Bluetooth dongle's at. I don't know. I don't remember where it was set up or when I set it up. Putting lyrics to music is actually the easy part. For me, because what I said, if you, I hear, for me, I hear the tune in my head. And so I'm putting the tune and the words together at the same time. But because I don't sit down and put pen to paper and put notes on, clefs. I don't write it out. The Home of the Red, White, and Blue, which is the memorial song I did. He's not in the stream. I don't see him in here, but there's a new laserologist here in town who just got his, the firearms license, and he's doing the fiber engraving a lot like Patrick's doing. His mother is the one who's helped me. I gave her the chords, and she sat there and listened and helped pick it out. And she took and put the melody together by just listening to me sing the song. She said, okay, and we got the basic chords down, and she wrote the chords out. Then once I had all the chords written out, when I went to the recording studio, sat down with the recording studio musicians, sang them the song, gave them the chords list, and they were able to do the same thing. A professional musician, they don't need sheet music. You give them the basic chords, and the melody, and they'll fill in the blanks, and that's what we did. And I guess AI would be a whole lot easier. I had my wife listen to your Red, White, and Blue Saturday, and she was blown away. Well, thank you. That's that. And I'll play that one Saturday, because we're coming up on Memorial Day. But the idea on that, and I mentioned it briefly last week, was that inspiration came when I seen the American flag draped over the Pentagon, and I'm like, okay, that's symbolic, but what does that symbol say, and what is it supposed to represent? And a big old mosquito got him. And the flag means something different to everybody. The U.S. flag means something, to represent. I see and feel certain things when I look at it. Other people see and feel different things when they see the Israeli flag versus the Palestinian flag. And everybody's reality is their reality. And just because it's real for them doesn't make it my reality. But it also doesn't make them wrong, because I don't share the same reality that they do. And that's where people, when you get so close-minded that you can't accept that there are other realities out there. They're not, I don't know that there's other multiverses out there, but my reality is not your reality. My experiences that have dictated my life and where I'm at right now have formed my reality. You haven't experienced the same things. You didn't go through the same trials or whatever. So your beliefs may be 180 opposite from mine based on your reality, your experiences. That doesn't make you wrong or me wrong. It just means we've had different experiences. And until people can start to accept that, we'll never have peace. We'll never have peace. And that's why I said, right now, I don't feel good about what's going on in this country and the way we're represented and the way that they're acting. I don't feel like I'm being represented. It's just a mess. The world's a mess. But until the division can go away, and that's part of the problem, the political machinery, that is their goal, is to divide us. The more they keep us divided, the easier it is to control. When you have 15 groups of divided people, of 15 groups of 3, it's easier to control those 15 groups of 3 people than it is to control those 90 people or whatever, that 120 people, whatever that would come to. 15 times 3, I don't know. But if they were united, you couldn't control that mass as easy as you could control those 3 people. So they keep introducing ways to divide us. And as long as we continue to allow them to divide us and accept those divisions, we're struggling. We're enough of that. But that's enough of that. So don't be divided. Accept, love your brother. Love your neighbor as your brother. Skin color don't matter. Religion don't matter. Political doesn't matter. If you can't be open enough to recognize that, yeah, we have differences, but our differences are what make us all unique and better. And because if we were all alike and we all had the same beliefs and the same thing, and you had one church one monotheism, and you went to the restaurant and everybody got to eat the same goulash and you had the same flavor of ice cream, that wouldn't be living. We need our differences, but we don't need to let our differences divide us. Stop the division. All right. Preaching over. Soapbox off. Brand. Loop off. There's a hope I want you And Brad, you're right. You're absolutely right. Not all conspiracies are wrong. And we should have term limits in every single office. Every single office should have term limits. There should be no such thing as a professional politician. If there was a term limit in every office and people were in and out of there, you would be seeing new ideas, and things would probably get done a whole lot quicker than having people get in there and create these quagmires. All right, guys, have a good night, and I will see you Saturday, 9 p.m. with something. It won't be a 3 hour. You guys pushed me to 3 hours this week, 250 or this on a Wednesday night. But hey, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Tom, again for your donation. Was that 2 tonight? Thank you, brother. I would never be elected. My help, but you know what? Same reason I can't get elected or shouldn't be elected for all my health reasons is also the reason, the biggest reason that probably the 2 that are going to be our choices should not be on the ballot. Neither one of them should be on the ballot. Neither one of them. We need somebody who's more in touch with the reality of the average man, and neither one of them are. And neither one of them, I think, are in full control of their faculties. And with that, good night, guys, and I'll see you Saturday. We'll hit the end stream and wait for it to end. It never know when it'll happen. Sometimes it's quicker than others. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes